You get interactive. So let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 You can also tweet at Smooth981. And we're streaming live. So just search for Smooth981. That is our channel, and you can catch the live stream right here and even post the comments underneath as well. Rotus, good morning.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning to all our listeners, YouTube viewers out there. Good to be with you all on a Tuesday.
Yes, indeed. Royce, are you feeling extra productive today? Apparently, Tuesdays are the most productive day of the week.
Yeah, that's what they say, but I don't see any difference between that day and any other day. But yeah, okay. I'm
All
very
right.
productive.
Okay. So we're talking about custom duties on imported medical equipment. And can we dive in?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
there was an interview in I think it was This Day newspaper
Mhm.
with the managing director and CEO of a hospital I can't remember that operates here. He's a foreigner, but he's lived in Nigeria now for about 20 something years. His wife and kids
Okay.
are here. And I thought it's always good whenever I like reading interviews with business people in the business space in different sectors, just to see the challenges that they're going through, how they observe the business environment. I mean, it was just yesterday, I think, or no, it was over the weekend or Friday that the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, they released their 2023 rankings of the states with that have the ease of doing business rankings. I think Gombe was number one again, followed by Jigawa and Sokoto and so on. So when you think about the ease of doing business, it's always great to have thoughts or get thoughts from people who are in the sector,
Right.
different sectors that tell you how it is. So that's where this is from. It was that interview.
So generally, what did you make of the interview?
Yeah, I thought it was very informative. I thought that, we definitely need more interviews like this. That's what we do on Business Hub on Tuesdays. As you know, of course, we've been on the drive time belt. So we thought to talk to people in the SME space, find their thoughts on what's going on. Yeah, I thought it was pretty informative.
All right. Now, I did read that interview because you sent it to me. Thank you for that. The MD and CEO had suggested custom duties on imported medical equipment should be waived. What do you think of that request, though?
I mean, of course, he would suggest something like that because he's in the medical field, and it would benefit him as far as his cost structure is concerned to be able to bring in medical equipment and not have to pay custom duties. But that would then mean a loss of revenue to the government. But the reason why he's calling for that is because Nigeria is import dependent. And so if you think about, the equipment that the different players in different sectors use, they are pretty much almost all of them have to bring in their materials indoors or into the country. Although I am looking forward to interviewing somebody in the fashion field, and all her stuff is made in Nigeria. I mean, I went to her store over the weekend. I mean, it was like being in a department store in the States or anywhere else. I mean, you had clothing with different sizes, all on the racks with the tags and everything. And I asked, I was like, is this stuff imported or is it made in Nigeria? And the workers like, it's all made in Nigeria. I was like, oh wow. So that will be another. Hopefully, we'll have a future day. We'll have her on a future show to talk about that but that's fashion, right? That's in the fashion, textiles part or clothing and so on. But for the folks in the medical field that are dealing with heavy duty equipment, that is a challenge. So I get what he is saying with respect to wanting to reduce his costs and the fact that we're import dependent, but then you're also looking at a loss of revenue for the government.
So what are the major issues here? Is it manufacturing or is it medical tourism?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much both, right? Because if you solve your manufacturing issue with respect to having the proper equipment here, then you will also reduce medical tourism. our president, as you know, spent a lot of time overseas treating something. Till today, we don't know what it was. He only recently, a few months ago, went on another checkup. He goes overseas to get his checkups, despite the fact that I understand Aso Rock is equipped with, medical up to date medical facilities, and there are doctors on board and so on. He still has to go overseas. So, if that's the case, is it then an issue of the expertise, or is it just the machine? So there's a lot in there, and I think it's both, but more on the manufacturing side. We do not, unfortunately, make our own medical equipment. I'm talking about high-tech equipment that can be used to, MRI machines and diagnosing stuff. So it's a big issue with manufacturing there.
Okay. Let's take a message from Benga. He says custom duties on medical supplies should be reduced, but not completely waived. But it's important to look at some duties to reduce costs to ordinary Nigerians who need services that these equipments would provide.
Well said. Well said. I agree.
So how do we solve these issues? And have we made any significant progress in the past 8 years or so?
I mean, President Buhari inaugurated a medical facility. I think it was in Kogi State. Yahaya Bello was on hand to receive him. It looked like a pretty decent I don't know if it was state of the art, but the medical equipment there looked pretty good. In Kogi State, but then that's just one, right? So I mean, maybe I think Lagos built something. There's a few here. A few states have, one or two. Okay, remember when Vice President Osibanjo had a knee operation? Yeah, and he did it at a hospital here in Nigeria. It made headlines. Everybody was talking about how he didn't have to travel overseas. So, but I think that was a private hospital, and I understand that they are pretty pricey, but then they would have to be pricey in order to, keep up and be competitive. So, the solution here, Zibby, is your manufacturing, you've got to be able to get to a level where you can manufacture these things here, but that will require a lot of expertise. And there's also the issue of power, being able to make sure these machines running well. Then you've got to have the graduates, people who can operate these machines that are well educated. So it's tech, manufacturing, and then the education parts as well.
You're listening to Business Express on Smooth 98.1. We're talking about custom duties on imported medical equipment. And let us know what your thoughts are. 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. Joel says, I don't think medical tourism for our presidents or politicians is because of lack of equipment or competence. Perhaps they are afraid of being hurt by the people they govern. It's more of a trust issue. Okay. Benga says, another problem is those who make such equipment upgrade them periodically. And by the time they are cleared here, there is already an upgrade. Time such equipment spent at the ports should be drastically reduced.
That is an excellent point. But thank you both for your messages. But to Benga's message, I remember I was watching an interview. This was last year. It's 2023, right? It was either 2022 or 2021. There was another medical professional who was on television, and he was lamenting how his equipment was just sitting at the ports for so long. So the ports are another issue. I know President Buhari has inaugurated a new deep sea port at Lekki. Hopefully that will be faster than what we're seeing at the Tinkana and Papa Port. But that is another issue that Benga has raised. The ports the equipment just sits there for so long. You have to either bribe people to get it out early. That adds to the problem.
Now, does Nigeria have any competitive advantage in the medical field or in its services, really?
No, we don't, because for you to have a competitive advantage, you have to have, to display superiority in that particular sector over other countries. Services, perhaps, but, when you look at the medical doctors that are Nigerian that do well, they usually do well overseas in environments that are accommodative to them or for them. So when you think about the number of strikes that have taken place in the medical field, the fact that there's issues here and there with wage disputes and pensions and all this stuff, it is I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but I do want to say that there's a lot of issues here with respect to how these issues can be solved.
Okay, I've got a message from Chawuko, and he says, import duties and any level of tax should be waived off the importation of medical equipment and even high-level medical centers in Nigeria. If you've ever had anyone going for dialysis every week, you'd understand the need for more of these facilities in the country. All right.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Well said.
So just before we read the message, we're speaking about our lack of competitive advantage. Is this obviously part of something that the new administration would have to solve?
Of course, the new administration has a boatload of issues in front of them. And it's a simple fact that the last administration didn't make any progress, that problem now it's like a football that you're passing. Oh, by the way, speaking of football, Nigeria won they got revenge on Guinea-Bissau yesterday.
Yeah,
so good for
they
them.
got lucky with that penalty.
Yeah. So it's like a football, you just keep passing on to the next person and the next person. And if one person doesn't solve it, then that now becomes a problem for the person who takes that seat. So I really do wish the new administration luck, because there's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to solve. Chief of which is that subsidy issue before the end of June, and then we go on from there.
Speaking about subsidies, how do they apply? How do the fuel subsidies apply in this regard?
Well, if you were to if you were to remove fuel subsidies and you now save trillions of naira, you can now put that money towards, building more medical equipment. Or if you completely waive the custom duties and you say, okay, we've lost revenue there, you can make up for it by not having to pay fuel subsidies. So the average Nigerian who says, okay, I'm paying 750, 800 naira per liter for fuel, but I don't have to travel overseas to get treatment, and we've got better equipment here, and we've got properly trained medical staff, and so on and so forth. People will take that trade-off. But then it's not overnight. So, and this is the problem. The moment you yank fuel subsidies, the impact is immediate, and people will feel it because prices go up. It will take time for you to apply that money, or maybe you can just apply that money and import a boatload of medical equipment immediately and then upgrade, or you can put some money towards health insurance, you've got, or mortgage. I mean, you've got to do something and apply that money immediately to where people can say, okay, I'm paying higher for fuel, but the government has applied that money, that savings, towards somewhere else where I, as a citizen, am getting value. So I really hope they're thinking about this and they're getting ready to move fast, because if those subsidies are removed immediately, it's the impact is going to be real swift.
All right. Benga says, in terms of comparative advantage in medicine, Nigerians hold the highest qualifications anywhere in the medical fields. Even those here can hold their own anywhere, but a workman is sometimes only as good as his tools. And Ogene Ochuko says, not collecting custom duties on medical equipment will help the health sector grow, which will increase life expectancy of the average citizen.
Well said. Well said. Our listeners always sending the best messages. Really appreciate all of them.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time that we have for Business Express this morning. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your very insightful messages. And thank you, Rotus, as well, for being on this morning.
Thanks, Zibby. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.